Planning means different things to different people. But one fundamental truth is that in your business, whether that business is a private business or not-for-profit, if you do not adopt a planning mindset, if you do not implement planning in your business, the likelihood of you weathering those storms and surviving, let alone prospering, is going to be cut down severely. In this week's I Hate Numbers video, I'm going to go through and emphasise why planning is not just a nice thing to have, but it's a central part of your toolkit, a central part of your business armoury to make sure that you have the business that you aspire to. Hi folks, my name is Mahmood. I'm a business finance fixer and accountant with over 28 plus years. And over those 28 plus years, I've helped thousands of business owners make more money in their business, increase their financial awareness, reduce their stress and anxiety, reduce their tax exposure, and have the business lives they aspire to have. And who wouldn't want that? Let's get on with the video. Now, statistically and through lots of research, it's been found that when you have businesses that do not survive, they crash and burn, they fail financially, there are a number of reasons put forward as to why that failure has happened. And one of the more common reasons for that is a lack of financial planning, a lack of connection with the numbers, and a lack of using those figures in your business to help map, reduce risk, and guide your business going forward. So to me, it's an absolute no-brainer that if you want to abandon the concept of planning, there may be good reason in your mind to do so, you're going to have a very much reduced likelihood of succeeding and prospering. And who wants that for their business? Typically, in most businesses, it will take anything from 3 to 5 years to consolidate, solidify, plant those foundations, and from there, you can prosper and go forward. So first of all, one of the key benefits in a planning mindset, we're not talking about an actual physical plan or a document. A planning mindset is less about the rearview mirror of your business and more about what's through the windscreen. We're looking forwards, we're monitoring our progress, we're actually assessing how we're doing. But the first thing that we need to do is actually establish what that plan actually looks like. And the planning mindset always starts with me is for your destination. What is that end point that you're visualizing for your business? Whether that is in 12 months time, 2 years time, or 3 years time. For me, I prefer to actually look at things in 3-year cycles. The closer we get to where we are now, the more detailed we can become. But 3 years is probably a bare minimum for your looking forward. Now, it's not about accuracy. It's not about having a crystal ball, but it's about figuring out what those small goals are to you. Now, we're not concerned with what other businesses are doing. We're more concerned with what our own business, what we're aspiring to actually achieve. So make sure those goals are SMART. And SMART is just a convenient mnemonic to identify specific for you. It's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, relevant, and it's done within that time frame you are setting yourself. So going from a point of 0 to £1 million in 12 months' time might be a little bit on the ambitious, reckless side if you don't have the adequate resources behind you and the battle plan to achieve that. Once you've identified what those goals are, and they will move and evolve over time. Having a planning mindset doesn't mean you're forever focused on what you've agreed 6 months ago. It's about refining, it's about defining where you're going, it's about changing things in light of circumstances, but try and stay focused in your lane. In my experience, far too many people try and overload what they're trying to achieve in their time frame they've set themselves, and thereby they dilute their efforts, spread themselves too thinly, and therein lies problems. And that is not something that should be happening in your business. Once you've articulated and visualized what that endpoint looks like, then you need to figure out the battle plan. What are the activities that you are going to be doing in order to get to that endpoint? And at this stage, folks, numbers are not necessary. We don't need to know what the cost of things are. We need that later on. But what is it you physically have to do in order to get to that end point? If we visualize somebody who might be health conscious, who wants to get a certain target weight, certain level of health, they're going to be thinking about the exercise they have to undertake, the food they're going to have to consume, what that looks like in order to get to that target weight, in order to get to that target health. We need to monitor, we need to measure, obviously. But once we've figured out our plan, we then translate it into what that looks like financially. And at this stage, you mustn't limit your ambition. You mustn't think, oh, I can't afford to do X, I can't afford to do Y. Just like writing a novel, writing a blog, dump everything out on your brain into a document. Numbers Know How has a fantastic platform to help you do that. And then you can come back, refine and shape your plan. Now, doing the plan is only half the exercise. There are other elements involved in that, which I'm going to expand on in a video next week and beyond. And that will involve, and I'll give you a little taster, a little bit of a spoiler alert. We need to make sure we've got a good, adequate, competent, robust ecosystem, a digital one to track and record what's actually going on. We need to define and refine those KPIs, those measures of that success. We need to come up with those milestones where we can measure our progress, typically on a month-by-month basis. We need to have the right mindset, we need to have the right approach, and we need to be able to put this all together. And we don't necessarily need to have great financial skills to do that. We need tools, we need expertise, but we've got to have the acumen and the willingness to actually embrace that. Now, folks, I've been in business for 28 plus years. I've helped thousands of businesses reach and realize their ambitions. I've helped many large organizations with planning. And again, having planning at the heart and the culture of your organization will give you a greater likelihood of having that business you want, making some money and reducing your stress and anxiety. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, I'd love it if you could share it with those that do. Check out the show notes, by the way, folks, for a link to the I Hate Numbers platform where we've got a free trial. Check it out and let me know what you think. Until next week, keep that planning mindset there.